start with roll call or?
You have to call the meeting to order first.
All right, so calling the meeting to order. We have a motion to approve.
No motion needed for that. You're in charge.
Okay, well, we're calling to order, and then Jenny, will you do roll call?
Yes. Motts?
Here.
Haaland?
Here.
Reed?
Present.
Delaney?
Here. All right, and can I get an approval for the minutes, October 5th? Approval?
I move to approve the October minutes. Delaney?
I second. Josh.
Okay, all in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? All right, any audience items?
No. Nobody has contacted me.
All right, then we'll move on to number 5, discuss light up in Polk City. I don't know if Jason, you have some information on that?
Yep, that's me. So going forward, I'm going to work with Go Polk City on a much bigger special event. It'll be the first Friday of December, and it'll be called Light Up Polk City. This will kind of absorb the existing tree lighting, square lighting. Now, that will still be very much the center point of this bigger celebration. But our intent is to eventually have stuff more around town, maybe just not so much on the square. And then, yeah, just with adding me and the Parks and Rec department to the fold, hopefully we're going to be able to offer some new and exciting things to that expectation for that first week of December when people want to see all the lights turn on for the first time. Excuse me. This year, it's a really weird year to change the format of something, but in true COVID fashion, this is what we're going to do this year. So we'll still be doing the tree lighting, but we will be doing it virtually. So we will be doing it in real time so people can live stream it. And then following that, we are going to bring the lights to Polk City. So we will be doing a holiday parade that evening. So we've got some floats, I guess. So people will be, mostly businesses will be making a float, decorating a vehicle as bright and obnoxious as they can. And we've got about an hour-long parade route through Polk City. So we will start, we'll have a police escort. We'll have several characters, holiday characters in the back of vehicles waving to kids since they can't come see them. And it will culminate with Santa and Mrs. Claus in a fire truck at the end. So Santa will come to the community still. It's different, but I think we're making lemonade out of the COVID-19 lemon. So that'll be what this year is. So it's going to be very dialed back, but appropriate given the situation that we're in. And then going forward, fingers crossed that 2021, we're back to some resemblance of normal. I'd like to maybe see the Parks Commission in some sort of capacity on the square. Maybe it's manning a hot chocolate and cookie table for people and just introducing yourselves. Just a little bit of exposure, something fun, something light. But yeah, so I forecast that for 2021 and beyond. Any questions about Light Up Polk City?
Did you say that was December 4th?
Yes, this year it'll be Friday, December 4th.
Well, I actually have a couple of things I want to comment on. Number one, I grew up in Sioux Falls, South Dakota. They do this. They call it the Parade of Lights. So if you're looking for another small town that's done this before and has like some pretty good contacts of people to contact, they'd be a good one. Like one thing that I know that is always the highlight is the high school drum line lights up their drums and does percussion through the parade, which is really fun. And there's a couple of local hot air balloon companies, and they light up their fire as they go through, which is really fun.
Oh.
So they might have some creative ideas for you to tap into, because I know they've been doing it for at least 20 years.
Okay.
And then other groups have done some really creative things too. Like I know that there is a cheer and tumbling group every year, and they do like basket tosses. And as the girl's going up in the basket toss, she throws out glow sticks and they go all over the place. So just some ideas of things that I know that they've done in the past. The other thing that I wanted to wonder is, I know that there's going to be this parade route. I'm wondering if there would be, and I talked to Jason about this a little bit, but maybe this is a good time to throw it in there. In the past, Ankeny has had just a mom that wanted to keep a list, and she's created a Google Doc that has houses or streets that are well decorated with holiday lights, so that families can make an evening of it to drive through to the different places. Last year, they made, I don't know who they partnered with, but last year they partnered with someone and they put QR codes on all of the houses or streets. And if you completed all of it, you got a free cup of frozen yogurt at Orange Leaf. So I don't know if Orange Leaf sponsored that, but there's like a little, God forbid I say this, but like a political yard sign, if you can think of that. And it's placed in front of each location's home. And it just says this home or this street has been nominated for the best of Polk City holiday lights. And then you get put on this list, and it celebrates basically your effort to light up your house or light up your street. And then you can, I don't know if we wouldn't necessarily need to do the QR code, or maybe that's something we're interested in, but maybe we could do something like release that sheet or something that day as well. So not only are we doing businesses, but we're doing families too.
I have something. Now, if this is going to be an hour-long parade, is there going to be kind of a time where they're hitting certain areas so people know when the parade's going to be passing?
Yes. So to touch on some of Ashley's parade ideas, I like it if this was more of a standard, like 4 seasons length, but we're going to be trying to get to a lot of the neighborhoods of Polk City. So if we invited some tumbling girls, they would literally be walking like 4 to 5 miles. So maybe not the parade for walking attractions. But no, so yeah, Holly, more on yours is, yes, we're going to have estimated arrival times of about every quarter hour. And so, yeah, we'll kind of, and of course, this is an estimate, so nobody hold us to it. But yeah, somewhere will be around 6:15, 6:30, 6:45. And we anticipate starting at the square and ending at the square, 6 p.m. to 7 p.m.
Cool. Yeah.
And then, you know, really, unless this really takes off like gangbusters, and it may, we kind of thought this would be this is almost like a placeholder to where we can get back to normal next year. But I mean, if this really does take off, having like a parade of lights be part of that could really become like a staple of something going forward. So and then in that case, maybe it does become something smaller, more of your traditional parade route that maybe ends at the square and we hit the lights there, and that's the culmination of the parade. And then, yeah, then we could totally have walking people too that wouldn't be walking 5 miles in the cold. So
No, I think it's a great idea. The one thing, I'm sorry, Jason.
No, go ahead, Josh. Sorry.
I was going to say the one thing to kind of keep in mind, I know the school has really been engaged with having their 5th grade band play at the square lighting. And I know that's probably not happening this year, but definitely something we probably don't want to take away from them in the future if we can avoid it.
Sure. No, absolutely. No, I still see that square lighting and, you know, a good majority of the events and entertainment being on the square.
Right.
yeah, that'll
If
still be
square
very much
writing is
desired.
virtual though, Jason, couldn't we ask the band director to possibly video record them so that we could play that during the virtual event? And it can just be, you know, if it's virtual and it's being zoomed or whatever, if it's on the square, you could put up a big screen and play it. And then you could also share whatever screen the music is playing from. And you could just have someone pan, you know, the band as they're playing, and that way they can still be engaged in the ceremony, but they're not technically there.
I will reach out to the band director and see what they'd be willing to do if something like that interests them, not being on site. But yeah, no, I think that's a good idea to keep the kids engaged, and if they're used to doing something like this, it'd be good to do everything we can to keep things normal for them too, even though it's far from normal.
I would really appreciate that as the parent of a fifth grader. And Kelly, you're probably in the same boat, but I've been asked 8 times in the last week if the square lighting is happening, for the sole reason that she now knows, I can't remember, she knows 2 Christmas songs that I've heard 100 times at this point. So virtual or otherwise, that would be nice, and from a very selfish perspective.
Not to volunteer myself for anything extra, but with my role at Heartland with the schools in the state of Iowa, I actually have a pass to go into the school. So if they need help like video recording, or if they need help, like I could help be a liaison if they need it.
Okay, very good.
And then my last thing, I promise on this.
I was just going to say, as a parent of a 7th grader, I know they're doing podcasts for the older kids so that they can do virtual concerts for the parents and grandparents and things throughout the school year. So I'm assuming if the 5th grade instructor doesn't, then I'm guessing they can work 5th and 6th, you know, can work with them, but just throwing that out there. Go ahead, Ashley.
My last thing was just going to be, I used to do a lot with princess parties. So I have Elsa and Anna costumes. If anybody has a teen daughter that's willing to volunteer, I have the wigs, the gowns, all the things. And I'd be more than happy to let someone wear them for the parade if they wish to do so.
Josh,
I think I heard Rob volunteer.
I beat you to it.
Rob can go as Kristoff.
I've got a number of girl costumes. None of them fit me, so Josh would be a much better Elsa than I would.
Josh has got the red going. He's an Anna if I've ever seen it. So, no, Ashley, that's great. I thank you for that. If we could find the right folks to fill that role, I think that would be great. So far, you know, we'll have Mr. and Mrs. Claus. I believe we will have Olaf, and we will have the Grinch. So the more characters, I think the better to bring something special around Polk City that evening. Before I kind of wrap this one up, I wanted to have Ashley elaborate a little bit more on the identifying of houses. You know, do you see that as the individuals, the homeowners would contact me, contact the commission to try to highlight their residents, or how would that process exactly work?
I know the gal in Ankeny that does it. She just has a Google form that you can fill out. So you can either click that you're nominating someone and you want them to be contacted, or that you're nominating yourself and giving permission to give out your address. So that way, like, no one's getting their address given out without notice. And then she doesn't actually post the address until she's contacted them personally and they've said, yes, it's okay to give out my address. So I think it could be either way. And if we go by a great house as a Parks member or as a city council member and it's a great house, we could nominate people too. But I know that the form is just 4 lines long. It's just your first and last name. Is this your house, or are you nominating someone else? What's the address of the house? and then a contact information. And then there is room for an optional description or the attachment of a photo of the decorations, and that's it.
Okay. Okay. No,
So-
I will look into that. And, you know, I will say we're just about a month away from this year's. If by chance it doesn't materialize this year, I think that would be a fantastic addition going forward. But no, I'll kick myself in the rear and get working on that, see if we can't make something for 2020 work.
I mean, if not, I get it.
Sure, no.
All right, should we move on to number 6? Update on regional park master plan.
Yeah, that's me again. So the first step in the regional park master plan ended today at 5 p.m. That was when submission of proposal was due. And I'm happy to share that we received 4 proposals. So in the next few days, I will reach out to those firms and get interviews set up. The next step will be November 16th. We will do interviews as a 6-person panel. 2 elected officials, the Parks Commission chair, and 3 city staff will interview these 4 firms, and they will be scored. And then, yeah, hopefully shortly thereafter, we'll be able to accept a proposal and have a firm to start our regional park master plan process. So very, very excited. I've got a stack of proposals on my desk. It really felt real today that this is happening, and so it's really cool.
Nice. Are you able to share the proposals with the commission at some point, or do we have to wait till all the interviews are done?
So the proposals will be shared with the interview committee. So those 6 individuals will get it. And then once it's been identified, then that's when the entire commission will be brought in to have an interview with that firm to get your thoughts. I'm happy to, if you'd like to know the firms, I'm happy to share that. They were J.L. Bruce, Snyder and Associates, Shive Hattery, and a collaboration of Confluence and JEO Consulting was the last one. But yeah, so that was today, and the next check mark is in 2 weeks.
Well, Jason, are you also talking about the discussing upcoming programming, number 7?
Yeah, it's all pretty much me tonight.
Okay.
No, so number 7 is actually the Polk City Community Foundation tree carving gift. I just wanted to give a quick recap.
One.
What's that?
You skipped item 7.
No, I have the tree carving gift as number 7.
I have discuss upcoming programming.
Oh, well, my bad. Okay. Sorry, folks. Okay, let's do your number 7. Discuss programming, huh? Okay. So, yes, a few things that are upcoming. December, I am going to. I think I tried to wait out COVID as long as possible, and it might be time to try to work within its parameters. I've reached out to a lot of my colleagues around the metro, and they've shared their successes with limited programming in a COVID world. So I'm obviously going to start very slow, very calculated, very meticulous. And our first thing that I'm able to offer will be adult yoga starting in December, and it'll be a Tuesday evening class. So it will be obviously adhering to social distancing, so class size will remain small. It will take place at the community center. So with one instructor, I'll be able to have 12 participants. That's how many we can fit in the community room with adequate social distancing markers on the floor. So this may be, I hate the term, but our guinea pig. So we're going to see how something thought out like this works, if people are comfortable, if they sign up for it. And that'll really kind of dictate the direction that we go going forward a little bit. So I'm excited to finally offer something. I wish there was no COVID to put question marks around it. But yeah, so it'll be yoga for those 18 and over on Tuesday evenings, 7 to 8 o'clock. And the way that you'll sign up as a session, so you'll sign up for December, January. So you'll get 4 classes when you sign up.
Is there a cost associated?
Yes. So it would be $60 for the session.
How does that compare with? Didn't the lady in with Fenders just put out some yoga stuff too?
It's funny, since I've been working on yoga, it seems like 3 have sprouted up around.
I'll be honest, I didn't know there was even she does massage stuff in town too. I didn't even know that was even there until last night when I saw it on Facebook. So Ashley, maybe you too didn't realize that, but
no. So
I just saw it on Facebook.
Yeah,
it's in the same building in that area.
The massage place.
I feel like that's a very weird place to do massage therapy.
I don't know. Beer and yoga sounds awesome.
Relaxing. Beer, get a massage. It's a girl's dream.
It's in that same area.
Yeah, Josh, to answer your question, so typically if you're getting a 1-hour yoga class at a yoga studio, you're paying $20 to $30 for that hour of instruction. So for a Parks and Rec level class, yeah, it's more around par to do 12 to 18 for that hour. That's kind of that introductory rate that you might expect.
Got it. That's fair. Yep. I had no clue.
Yep. That'll be going. And then another program, and this will kind of feed into the whole Light Up Polk City, but we'll be doing letters to Santa, December 1st through the 15th. I have a mailbox to the North Pole that will live at City Hall, and kids are encouraged to bring their letters or their drawings to Santa. And if they are so inclined to leave their name and address, Santa will write back. So it'll be just a nice holiday touch. And Jenny doesn't know yet, but I might use some of the ladies up front if I have a lot of letters that Santa needs to write.
I was going to say, that sounds like a lot of work.
I'm going to put 5 letters in just for Rob.
Yeah.
I actually have a suggestion for you, Jason.
Sure, what's up?
You may want to consider tapping into like the nursing home, or even like the Polk City Women, or some of the other groups in town, and then giving them a stack of letters that they could do maybe at one of their meetings so that they could get through those letters. The other thing that I would just caution you about, I don't know how much research you've done into this, but I did this one year with another girlfriend of mine. We were super, super ill prepared for how personal some of those letters would get. You know, like, all I want for Christmas this year is for my dad to come home from prison. We were like, how do we respond to that one? That was seriously one of our letters that we got. So I just maybe look up some templates online. We didn't do that.
Sure. No, so luckily I've done this at 2 other places, and I have saved dozens of letters from Santa.
Got this.
So, yes, but no, I agree. There were some that were a little bit more personal than I was ready for. So that's when you talk about what the elves and the reindeer are doing outside of the North, you know. So no, I appreciate the cautionary tale there. Okay, I think that's all I've got for programming. So letters to Santa and yoga coming up. So now 8 is the gift on your guys', is correct?
Yeah.
Okay, I don't know why I have such an old version in front of me. But no, I just wanted to kind of recap the tree carving gift process. So obviously, I think most people have seen it. Ashley did a fantastic job of taking pictures every day during the transformation process. So far, I think it was kind of a slam dunk. I have, I've only heard positive things thus far. Um, you know, I think social media is always the gauge of success most times now. And the post that I put out there showing the before and after, we've almost reached 8,000 people by people sharing. So it's definitely gotten out there, and it's been the comments, the direct messaging to me, phone calls. It's been really good. Of course, everybody just seeing it for what it's worth, and that's turning something terrible into something beautiful. 2020 needs more of that kind of stuff right now. So yeah, as we go forward, and I've shared with you guys before, that tree will stand naturally where it is for about a dozen to maybe 15 years, at which case we'll have a decision to where it will live the rest of its life. So eventually we'll sink it into concrete and it will become a permanent structure somewhere. Going forward, the continued maintenance will fall to me and Public Works. And essentially that just consists of applying kind of a timber oil protection layer to the outside of the carving. This year, I'll try to get 2 coats on. And then going forward, it's every 2 to 3 years. So the only reason it was not done by the artist was it was too cold for application. We're supposed to have an air temperature of 50 degrees, and we sure did not have that when he was out there. If you see him out there carving, and it was in the 20s, so he was very dedicated to his craft. But no, tomorrow and Wednesday look absolutely gorgeous, so we'll be able to get out there and get it protected before a true winter sets in. But no, overall, I was just very happy with the process. Working with the community foundation was very easy. You know, they handled the payments to the artist, and overall, I think it was just a pretty successful venture overall. I don't know, did anyone as commission or council members hear anything more outstanding, or did you hear anything negative on the process? I'd love to hear.
I've heard nothing negative. I was at church and all the ladies were talking about it, and so they were all very pleased with it and excited.
Good.
All positive that I heard.
Okay. Very good. Yeah,
Yeah, Jason.
I've seen a lot of a lot of people that normally don't take selfies out there taking selfies with it. So it's been super cool. Again, yeah, people just appreciate something bad turning into something good, and luckily I think the artist also got some good publicity out of it. Channel 5 was here and did an interview with him. The artist told me once he knows when that would air, he would share it with me so we can share it with you guys, and we can kind of see Jeff on Channel 5. So no, Jeff was amazing to work with, and he took my bar napkin and you know, brought it to fruition. So it does look good. So kudos to him.
And Jason will never admit it, but the hours that he spent in the cold carting away the sawdust, for lack of a better term, he could have been a snowman. A couple of times I saw him. He came back in just to get warmed up, and then he'd go back out there and do it again. So again, Jason did a lot of work, hands-on type work, in addition to getting it all organized. So I know I appreciated not having to go out there and pick up the sawdust for sure.
Yeah, there was so much sawdust. I didn't think it was, you don't know how much sawdust came off that baby until you're scooping it.
I know. I had a stump removed this year, and I was watching how much sawdust comes from stump removal. So I can only imagine a carving and how much that would create. All right. So do we have any reports? County liaison, commission, staff.
I got a few things, and yeah, I would echo Jenny's comments. I know I bugged Jason when he was out there one of the times working on that, and I'm so thankful to you, Jason, that how you've handled this, and then two, that we have a position to handle this now. It's been not the ideal year, which, you know, this and everything else, to launch a real parks program, but to use your analogy, you have definitely made lemonade over and over again with the COVID-19 limit. So I really do appreciate. I don't think it could have turned out any better. I like looking at it, driving by, looking at the posts. Even halfway through, I didn't think it was the contrast where he burned it and then sanded the other. I just think it looks tremendous. I think it's going to be a great addition. So since Stephen here, I want to give an update on community visioning and kind of picking up, I think, our meeting a couple months ago where we talked about community visioning and how it fits. So we had our most recent meeting Thursday night, and I think Jason dialed in, and I think it was a perfect one for him to do that on. I've got the binder that they gave us to give to him, and I think we've got enough to give to you guys too, but really just a great artifact coming out of all the work. So they presented, it was the first meeting that was less of a collaboration and more of a presentation from the landscape engineer firm that kind of led most of it, and they went through and all the pictures, the boards that you had probably seen, and all the trailheads, and I forgot what they call the new city bike lane things, but they basically priced out everything and kind of did some legwork on a bunch of different stuff. So, you know, all the different things, it's not a hold this price as gospel thing, but directional. I think it's outstanding baseline information for us to, you know, look at Lost Lakes or to look at the trailhead. And obviously, since we've met, we had the meeting on Hy-Vee, and so Third and Davis is in there. And I think it's more of a, here is what we can do, whether it's that specific spot or an idea somewhere else. I got to say, in seeing that, I'm really excited about what they put together. They're calling it the West Side Trailhead, in the space that will be sort of in between the sports complex and the eventually the Quick Star that goes in there. There's a new bandstand that's not fully enclosed, but it's like 4 times the size. And seeing, so I've always been fearful of that one because it's technically on Army Corps land, and my experience hasn't been great with that. But this group, I think, is a conduit to them, and then also the price tag really wasn't as much as I thought. So that can be a real destination, cool thing that we can use in a lot of different ways. So the main reason I bring it up now is, one, to share that some of the information is there, but then also I think to the discussion we had a couple months ago, this is where, as that group ramps down, I think this group ramps up. And I think that's true with the Parks Master Plan too. And this is probably similar to the spiel I kind of gave in February or whatever it is, where I want this group to have more opportunities, and then COVID hit, so whatever. But I do think it's true now that we're going to have a ton of good information that we've not had before. And just some stuff that I think we're going to be able to do differently and in a much more thorough way. The last 5 or so pages of the binder we got are all grant opportunities, and I love that, obviously, from a financial city, using taxpayer money perspective, but I also love it from a momentum standpoint. It's really hard to say no to something that, X% gets covered through a grant, or, I know Jason's, one of his big things now that we have our regional park land and doing the park study is the Friends of the Park program too, that will get started here eventually. So again, just super excited about the opportunities that we have, and really, obviously this year is kind of gone sideways with a lot of things, and parks programs and recreation activities is one of them. But I do think we've got a big opportunity going forward, and I'm excited to be included to really sell ourselves to these firms that are doing the park master plan and really get some cool, engaging folks with a lot of good expertise to kind of shape some of the things that we know. I think the basic, field space and park or practice field space is a no-brainer, but how do we accommodate for what the city and the surrounding communities are going to need to a certain degree in 2030, 2040, whatever. And that's just something we've not done before. So really excited for that. And then, like I said, with community visioning and all that information, I think that group continues, and I'll use the analogy of they can be kind of the working group, and I think the Parks Commission is more of a steering committee. Maybe think about that too, if you guys have an experience or thoughts on how that might work together. So obviously the more people we can keep engaged, the better we are, but obviously with Jason's lead and this group's funnel to everything that's happening parks related, it'll be a big probably aspect of a lot of things we do in 2021. So that's I guess my update.
Anything from the, oh, go ahead, Ashley, or who said that? Oh, no one said anything. All right, maybe that was on my end. I have kids in the background, sorry. Anything else though from the commission or staff?
Is this where a member can chime in for something?
Yes.
Okay, I do have something I want to propose for spring. Hold on. Can I share my screen, please, Jenny?
Just a second.
I would like to propose putting in a butterfly garden. I'm willing to pay for it and get it started. It'll be plants that come back year after year, so it won't necessarily be a high level of upkeep. But hang on just a second here. Trying to figure out my sharing. Okay, so this is, oops, sorry. I clicked on another one accident. So this is obviously our map of Polk City. The area I'm proposing is actually in my neighborhood just because of convenience. But there is this pond in the 12 Oaks neighborhood. You can't see it on this map, but when I transitioned to satellite, it's right here. And out of this pond is this small stream, and it's currently populated already by quite a bit of milkweed and some shade coverage. And eventually in our plan, just like what Rob was talking about, one of the long-term goals is to put riprap rock along the edge of this whole pond so that we stop erosion, and then to put in a walking path that goes all the way around the perimeter of the pond. That's going to include a really small footbridge down at the north side. Can you guys see my cursor? Yeah, so right here where I've put that dot, there will be a footbridge right there eventually for that walking path. What I am proposing to do is put in a butterfly garden roughly right here on this corner of the pond. It is an open area right now that is just grass that didn't seed very well, but it's the perfect place for a butterfly garden because it's full sun. When you look at a butterfly garden, other butterfly gardens in the area, we do have a couple we have the Saylorville Lake Butterfly Garden. And that one is more of a natural garden, but I can't get the pictures to show up, shoot. But it has a lot of flower beds that are individual, and then it's got some gravel walking paths in between. I'm not necessarily interested in doing something that elaborate. I'm interested in doing something more like the Kiwanis or Ava's Butterfly Garden that is out there. And these two gardens, shoot, I can't get the pictures to pop up. They were popping up earlier on my own computer. These two gardens are a little bit more wild. They're not as detailed as some of the other butterfly gardens that are in the area. Like the Reman's one is staffed by horticulture students and is like super fancy. I'm not asking to do something like that. I did, however, grab a bunch of photos that would be similar to what I am proposing that we do. I also want to share my screen to show you. I did talk to Matt Valesky at the elementary school. And we talked about having students in 4th grade every year, or like maybe kindergarten, since our schools might change, but having the kids put together a mosaic stepping stone that we could add into the butterfly garden or maybe around the perimeter, so that it could be added to and updated every year. The other option would be to actually have kids paint rocks and have people purchase like a mosaic stone that their family could do. These particular ones that you're looking at right now, the mold with concrete sells for $22. So I was thinking about selling them for like $30 or something like that. So that would help fund the maintenance and the upkeep of the butterfly garden, just if there needed to be some reseeding or something like that. But another fun addition that your family could add to the butterfly garden. The other thing, I'm just going to share my whole screen. Sorry, I keep going in and out of that. This garden right here is outside of a building in my hometown. And this is more of what a wild butterfly garden looks like. So it's full of flowers, it's full of different heights of foliage, and it's supposed to bloom from spring all the way through fall. With the goal that these are different plants, like I said, that seed themselves. And on a smaller scale, we would plant it like this. I am proposing that I work with one of the high school classes at North Polk High School. There's an egg class that does a lot with horticulture. And so I'd like to work with the egg teacher to actually create a project-based learning opportunity for the students to survey the area, look at the soils, pick out the different seeds, and then plant them. And then ultimately what you end up getting is something that looks like this. So this would be the garden in full spring bloom. You can see some of the summer plants, like right here, are starting to bloom, but these are all spring plants that are already blooming. I do have access to all of the seeds for free. Jeff Walters has been helping me a little bit. He does quite a bit of planting and doing seeds and stuff for Snyder and Associates. And we went out several times to Big Creek and collected bags and bags and bags of seed that would have just gone to the wind. And so we collected those so that we could potentially create this butterfly garden if it's something that the commission is interested in.
I can so that's my area. I don't know if people know this, but I have a degree in horticulture and landscape design.
Sweet.
But I was gonna say those things take a lot of maintenance. And I was curious on who's going to be maintaining the garden. And when I say a lot of maintenance, I mean a lot of maintenance, and it takes years to establish like a native prairie setting. So I was curious on your plans for that that part of it, because I keep trying to get volunteers to help me with the downtown square. It's really hard.
Well, I will tell you the last meeting, oops. Oh yeah, I am unmuted. I will tell you the last meeting, I had no idea someone was taking care of that. I would totally help you with the downtown square. I love to garden. And so I know it's going to take about 3 years for the plants to be fully established. And I know we're going to have some replanting that happens, especially with the milkweed, the butterfly weed, and the swamp weed, because it's going to be right next to that creek. So the swamp should grow pretty well, but you're still going to have loss of seed, which means you're going to have to replant so you maintain your density of your plants. But my hope is to create a prairie that is native in the sense that they're all plants that are growing in the area. And so we're not going in there and pulling a bunch of weeds. If some of the grasses get in there, it's okay, because eventually that walking path is going to go through there. But like I said, I'm not necessarily hoping for that tidy butterfly garden that maybe people have in their heads that's at like the botanical center, because we just don't have that kind of staff to maintain that. This would be more of a wild prairie area that is densely populated with flowering plants.
Well,
Big Creek has a ton of them.
Yeah, Big Creek's very nice. I do have, if you are interested in that, I do know that Lakeside has 3 years to establish their prairie, and they're going through a prairie, I think Iowa native prairie, to do that. So I guess they would be a good resource to see how they're handling that. But I do know the city gave them 3 years to establish it. At first to look at, because the weeds do take over, like foxtail.
Yes.
I think that's really cool, Ashley, and thank you for your passion and bringing it up. And I don't want to qualify anything really. I'm hesitant. I should probably just shut up. But I know that's kind of what the Army Corps told us they were wanting to do. Back to that bandstand thing, the area, they were wanting to do that there. So, and I know that's a lot of sun too. So if I get that you're in the neighborhood there, and I want to have different things in different neighborhoods. So I'm not saying to change anything, just throwing out there too that doing maybe one of these or utilizing that area. Because there's a stream that, I mean, it's literally the same thing that you, at least from my non-horticulture ignoramus brain, sees the same thing in that area around where that new bandstand could be. So just food for thought more than anything else.
And like Jason was talking a couple meetings ago, I'm just throwing this out there for this meeting. I don't plan on voting on it or anything today. Just food for thought. And then Jason, can you help me on protocol for that? Do we then talk about it again at the next meeting? Do we vote on it this meeting? What does that look like?
Well, we would certainly put it as an agenda item for further discussion
Okay.
at a subsequent meeting. I might have to default to Rob and Jenny on the second part of the question. What would we do in terms of bringing this to fruition? Like, what channels would we need to go through for a project that's previously been unidentified and unfunded, even though Ashley touched base on the funding portion of it? But how does that look in Polk City, since I'm still kind of green?
Yeah.
Short answer. Oh, sorry, Rob.
Go ahead.
I was just going to say the short answer is once the this commission recommends it as a project to council, then it would ultimately go to council to vote on. I'm sure that Public Works I know that there's not an intent for anyone else to manage this space, but I know that Jason is working with the Public Works team. They manage the parks. So I'm assuming they're going to want some more information and input and those kinds of things. But it would basically be 2 or 3 steps, right? You guys talk about it. You recommend what the project would look like. I think then staff would get involved, and then from there it would go to council for final approval.
Yeah.
And in full transparency, I'm not married to the site that I picked. I just know that site because I live down the road. So if there's a better place to put this, or if there's like an area like in the Kiwanis Park or something like that needs some beautification, like I don't have any problem putting it somewhere else. I just thought it would be nice to put in some native flowering plants somewhere.
Yeah, I mean, to that point, there's no reason that if we can do that, we need to just do one. I mean, for that matter, I think the area you're talking about is already dedicated city-owned park land. So, if we're not asking parks or not asking Public Works to do anything, if we've got the initial setup, I can't, Jenny covered it procedurally, but I think that's, it maybe give the group some time to noodle on it, since I'm guessing that would need to start in spring and we've got the time anyway. But, and I can appreciate too, from your perspective, to be able to walk, or I think you could probably walk there. And then demonstrating success, and maybe, down the road, we look at other spots or something similar or whatever. But, for already city-owned land, I think that would be a very natural spot if it fits the need of it that you seem to have covered. So for sure.
I do know that we did talk about this maybe 4 years ago. We had a butterfly garden did come up, so I don't know if we could even revisit that meeting. I do remember talking about it. So
Yeah, is this the same? I know you had brought up a sensory garden, Holly. Is this a lot of the same things as that?
yeah, there's a lot of similarities to it.
Okay.
So I guess for making this an agenda item going forward, Ashley, since this is kind of, I'm going to call it your baby, do you want to put together, I'm going to call it more of a formal presentation, I suppose, that we can have be an agenda item, and you can talk it through start to finish, kind of a timeline, estimated costs, estimated this, that, and whatever, kind of touch base on those community benefits that you talked about, possibly, selling the pavers as an option, or utilizing North Polk schools, the ag portion of it for some sort of on-site real life experience. I think that would be appropriate if you're okay with that.
I mean, is the Parks Commission though interested in this? Because if the Parks Commission is not even interested in it, then I don't necessarily want to put that work into it. And I guess maybe that's what I'm looking for right now. Are people interested in hearing more, or is this just something that, like, we have too much going on, not a good idea right now?
I'm always interested in flowers.
So I come into this really late, and I apologize. I was confused by the calendar message, and then I apparently didn't look at everybody's texts. But one of the things in community visioning also is to try to improve the looks of our city signs with native plants. So there is the potential to piggyback on that too.
I think it's good, but the one thing like Holly mentioned, the upkeep of it, and does the city have the resources to be able to keep the weeds and everything down as it grows? That would be my only concern with it. But yeah, I think it's a good opportunity if we can keep it up.
Okay, I would recommend that you maybe reach out to, I could give you the name of the person who's in charge of the Lakeside Prairie that they're putting in. I know that those guys who water and do all the seed, they are very busy guys, but they would probably have some good insight for you.
I'm talking about like a 20 by 20 space, and they're talking like a 2000 by 2000 space. So.
Yeah, that's true. But still.
Okay, I actually have to go to a lecture, so I have to depart from the meeting, and I apologize for my abrupt departure. But I will work with Jason and try to put something a little bit more formal together then.
Nope. Thank you. That was great. Flowers are great.
Thanks, everybody.
And Steve, I did give an update on our meeting a little bit. So
Did you show the booklet?
I didn't. I talked about it probably longer than they cared to listen to. So, but you'll do a better job. So I wasn't saying that to squash your. I tried to sell it pretty good. It's a lot of cool information.
Steve, do you have a digital copy you can send to the group?
I don't personally have one, but I can get one because they are available. I'm going to put it on the Facebook page anyway, so I'll get one and send it around to Parks members.
Thank you, Steve.
Yeah, I didn't talk about that. We got physical copies. They're finalizing the final one. He noticed some, as we went through it on Thursday, he noticed some things that he was going to change, some totals that weren't on there, some minor stuff. So yeah, we will get, and like I said, I don't know how many copies you got, Steve, but I grabbed 2 for Jason and Chelsea, and but I think there's probably enough for everybody on the park. I don't know if we want to maybe just take all those to City Hall and we can distribute from there, or I can run one over to your house.
How many do you have, Rob? I'm standing up to count my copies.
I have mine and 2 others.
I've got 1, 2, 3. I've got 6 extra copies here. That'd be enough for Parks Commission members, wouldn't it?
Yeah.
So why don't I just reserve those for Parks Commission members, so that they have that information.
And I can, maybe I'll get a couple of those. I can drop one off to Josh. Kelly, I'll probably see you at a soccer game. I can see you at church maybe. And like I said, I was going to drop off 2 at City Hall for you, Jason and Chelsea as well. So it's
Thanks,
a lot.
Rob.
It's quite a comprehensive report. They really put a lot of work into it. That is for sure. But a lot of it follows what we've already talked about before with the basic projects. It's just they've done such a great job of breaking down the costs for all those projects. And I think I had mentioned to Rob coming out of the meeting that I was not surprised. There was nothing that they threw out in terms of dollar amounts that really surprised me. I thought they were kind of right in the ballpark for that kind of stuff of what I figured it would cost. So did you talk about where the committee goes from here, Rob? Because I don't work.
Yeah, and a little bit at a high level, but feel free to expound on it.
Well, no, if you've already talked about it, then that's fine. If everybody has any questions about community visioning, I'm happy to answer. We do have the annual meeting coming up on the 12th of November, and we're giving I did it today, a little audio presentation on community visioning in Polk City. Yeah.
And Steve's on there. I'm not doing a very good job of showing that.
There's the card.
Yeah, Steve right here. It's on the card that went out to everybody in the state, so he's famous.
Yes. Yeah. Thank you for showing that, Rob.
So when Rob picks up those, make sure they're all autographed before he picks them up there.
Yeah, collector's item.
Yeah.
That looked awfully like a lot of the political things that I get in the mail. So hopefully I didn't throw that away immediately.
Great.
Vote for Steve.
I was down having pizza downtown on Friday night, and I saw our community visioning stand on the square over on its side, and I thought, gosh, we really ought to figure out what to do with that. So I've got to ask the community visioning organization what to do with that stand. I probably shouldn't just be down there.
Yeah. All right. Does anyone else have any reports or anything else from the commission?
I've got a little bit as staff, Holly.
Yeah.
Coming from Public Works and, oh gosh, I'm sorry. I just had Ken Morse, sorry. We had a successful tree planting at Doc Simmer Memorial Park. I mentioned at our last meeting that Earl May in Grimes was set to donate some trees to us. We didn't quite get the 12 that we were told previously, but we did get 7 trees valued at $2,000 to plant at Doc Simmer Memorial Park. So some of those were used to replace some that met their end in the derecho. and some flowering trees we kind of put up front to actually do a more of a aesthetically pleasing entrance into the park. So so yeah, that was pretty good. No, another shout out to Earl May and Grimes. And the next time you are at Town Square, we're doing a little bit of concrete work there. So we did have 3 concrete bench pads installed. They're still kind of curing before we move the benches on there. And that was a decision that myself and Public Works came to. Essentially, it's twofold. You know, most of those benches that are set in the grass now, they're always accompanied by a wonderful muddy mess underneath. So that will kind of take care of that. And also, this will give us the ability to anchor in our structures. If anything, the derecho did show us is that even those heavy benches are not safe. So even though that may be a once in a lifetime event, we'd like to be prepared. So we may look into anchoring our benches going forward. Let's see. Currently, I have 2 applicants for the vacancy that Stephanie Campbell left on this commission. We will close accepting applications on November 15th. So if you do know of anybody that would be interested or a good fit for this commission, please don't hesitate to encourage them to apply before the 15th. Our December meeting on the 7th, I want a heads up for you guys to be prepared. You will be appointing a chair, vice chair, and secretary for the year 2021. So, yep, those of you just, you can self-appoint or you can appoint somebody else. I leave that to you. Yeah, and then, you know, just the last bit, thanks to Rob and Steve for inviting me to just kind of be a fly on the wall for that community visioning feasibility meeting. It was nice to see all your guys' hard work come to fruition and kind of see all that. And then, yeah, Rob kind of briefly touched base on this, and this will be more of an in-depth item in the future. But I think the next step that I can do from the Parks and Rec Department is the formation of a Friends of Parks 501c3. That's their purpose is, you know, the continued beautification and of our parks through fundraising. You know, so for some of these things that come up, you know, whether it be something that community visioning identified or something like Ashley did tonight with that butterfly garden, you know, having some monies that extra, for a lack of better terms, when these projects do pop up. So yeah, that's on me. I'll be working with within the city to see what it takes to establish that 501c3 and how that would be governed going forward. So yeah, I think that's just kind of a next step in a much bigger picture of you know, Polk City Parks being beautiful for years and years and years. With that, that's all I got.
Hey, Jason, you have Eric Dahl on the agenda for December?
Yes, yep, he is on it.
Okay. And another question, okay, how do I ask this? For the regional sports complex, you're accepting what right now? It's not bids, but what is it?
Sure. And so, no, I did touch base on this before you jumped on the call, but I'm happy to go back to it. So today at 5 p.m. was the deadline for master plan proposals. So the firms that would like to complete our master plan. Yes, their proposal was due today at 5 p.m. and I had 4 firms get everything into me by that deadline. So they were Confluence, Snyder and Associates, Shive Hattery, and J.L. Bruce.
Thanks for saying all that again. Again, sorry for being late.
No, that's okay. You're very welcome.
We're all really mad at you, Steve. If there's nothing else, I can adjourn the meeting. All right. Can I get a motion to adjourn?
Motion.
Second?
Second.
All right. All in favor? Do I do that a bit?
Aye.
All right. All right. Any opposed? All right. Well, thanks for bearing with me. That was my first time leading a meeting. So
You did great, Holly.
thanks.
Thanks, everybody.
Thanks, everybody. See you
Bye.
in December.
You guys, thank you.
Right.